passive system, which finally gives a sense to the memorization of the four principal parts. For the moment, you have used the first three principal parts: amo, amare, amavi. Amo for the present indicative, amare to get the present stem and form present, imperfect, and future, amavi to form the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect active. Now, you finally, today, will learn why we also have to study the fourth principal part, amatum of a verb. Amatum is the perfect participle, and it is used to form the perfect passive system. What does it mean? For the moment, you have studied the perfect active system. So, for example, for amare, you studied amavi, amavisti, amavit. For I loved, you loved, she loved. You studied the pluperfect active, amaveram, amaveras, amaverat, I had loved. And the future passive system, the future perfect active, future perfect active, amavero, I will have loved. Amavero, amaveris, amaverit. And if you remember, we talked about the fact that for the perfect, you get the third principal part, cut the I and attach the endings to this, to the amav. For the pluperfect, you attach basically the imperfect of the verb to be to the perfect stem. For the future perfect active, you attach the future of the verb to be to amav, to the perfect stem. Okay, remember this? Now, today you will study the perfect passive system, which is, let's do this, corresponds to the English I was loved. So I loved is active, I loved someone, I was loved by someone, okay, or I have been loved, okay, by someone. How do you form it in Latin? You take the fourth principal part, turn it into an adjective of the first group, so amatus, amata, amatum, depending on whether you are referring to a male, masculine noun, feminine noun, or neuter noun, and then place next to it, not attached but as a separate word, the present of the verb to be. Amatus sum, or es, or est, or sumus, estis, sunt. So, for example, if I want to say that man has been loved, I write, okay, ille vir, or just ille, amatus est. Amatus masculine because I say that man, est because it's third person singular. Okay? Same thing for the pluperfect. You take the fourth principal part, okay? But then instead of it doesn't work. So let's do this. You take, okay, you take the fourth principal part. First of all, the pluperfect is I had been loved. I had been loved. I had loved is the pluperfect active. I had been loved, the pluperfect passive. Okay. instead of the present of the verb to be, you put the imperfect, just like in the active, except that now it's a separate word. So amatus eram means I had been loved if I am a man. Amata eram if I am a female. Okay, I had been loved. Exactly the same thing for the future perfect passive. I will have been loved. I will have been loved. Amatus, amatamatum, ero, this time. Okay? So, the good thing is that if you remember that in the perfect active you use eram and you attach eram, the same thing you do for the passive, except that it's a different word, and instead of having the third the stem of the perfect, you have the fourth principal part, which has turned into an adjective. Ero for the future, the only difference is in the perfect, which has sumus est, sumus est sunt, while in the active had the different tenses, amavi, amavisti, amavit, amavimus, amavistis, amaverunt. Okay? So let's write here that this is the perfect passive system. Okay, this is the perfect, this is the pluperfect. Okay, and this is the future perfect. Okay, you have a better handout. Okay, but this is just to give you the explanation. Of course, if in the adjective has to decline also in the plural. So if I say they will, well, let's do we will have been loved, it becomes amati, plural masculine if it's a group of men or men and women, amati erimus, we in the plural. Okay? In this chapter, you will also study the interrogative, adjective, and pronouns, and you can take a look at them by yourself. The forms are almost the same as the relative pronoun, okay, except that are used to ask questions and have different forms, especially for the nominative singular and the accusative. So it's a quis, the nominative singular masculine and feminine instead of qui quae, and quid for the neuter instead of quod. Okay, all the other forms are basically the same, except that masculine and feminine are combined in the singular. So quem is the accusative and feminine singular, while of course quid is the neuter. Okay. So that's it for chapter 18, but practice a lot, especially the interrogative pronouns and the adjectives with the self-correcting exercises at the end of Willox. Okay, and then tomorrow you will study the last chapter, which is the fourth declension. That's it for today. Have a good Thursday. Bye.